Hi, welcome to the Daily Dose of Anime Recaps. In this video, we'll be taking a look at episodes 1 through 4 of Redo of Healer. The story of this dark fantasy show revolves around Kaoru, a healer who was mocked and mistreated by his fellow comrades. Mistreated isn't a strong enough word for what they do to him though. He believes he has got what it takes and is worthy of recognition, so he uses spells on the entire planet itself to rewind the time 4 years backward. He wants to start over with his life. His first objective is to exact vengeance on those who have harmed him. How exactly will he do that? Let's find out. It is true that a vengeance story can actually be very fun. Kaoru is a sweet little kid who is probably an orphan. He dreams of saving his town by taking down a demon king. The same dream has been bugging him for quite a while and keeps hearing an inner voice that uses weird phrases. One day he gets hypnotized and wanders into the forest. He comes in contact with a star spirit and asks the spirit to grant him the power that his inner voice keeps mentioning. The said star spirit gives him an ability called Sight. This gives him the ability to determine the identity and nature of the spirits he comes across. Though it seems like this ability would be a great asset to have, as time passes, we see that our protagonist is being blamed and bullied for not responding quickly enough to heal his colleagues after a particularly bloody battle with the Demon Lord. And it's obvious from his ghastly smile that he's already starting to falter. Despite being a skilled healer, we discover that Kaoru's talent has a cruel flaw. Whenever he curses someone, all of their suffering and negative experiences flood through his mind at once. Even he himself acknowledges that no reasonable person should have to bear this suffering, so as a result of it, he repeatedly tries to flee from his wounded comrades, hoping that he won't have to heal anyone ever again. But can you really blame him? It's not hard to feel some sympathy for the main character, who has been repeatedly kidnapped, drugged, and compelled to use his skills. More than sympathy for Kaoru, you feel more hatred for the people he travels with. Though short of unsettling flashbacks, we are shown the despicable nature of their crimes. After being treated worse than livestock and gotten turned into an addict, Kaoru blatantly refuses to heal his comrades, confidently calling them trash. He moves to the front line and engages in combat on his own terms, in his own way. The reason why he is able to act on his will is that over the years he develops resistance to the drugs they were tempting him with. He uses the traumatizing memories of countless people he had saved, imitating their fighting techniques, and demonstrates strength no one could have predicted. We see that he has powered up a lot since we last saw him, and single-handedly slays the Demon Lord in his dreams with his healing technique. This series takes an unexpected turn. Normally, a protagonist would use the Sorcerer's Stone to heal himself and restore his sanity, but Kaoru doesn't want to start over in order to mend his own wounds and regain his sanity. He does it only to harm and degrade the people who have offended him as much as he possibly can in order to exact revenge. With the Philosopher's Stone in his possession, he chooses to go back in to change history and make the world a fairer place. He curses everything else, promising to use the demon's remaining strength to restore order in the world. He knows that he will lose his memories, but he claims that he will never forget the pain that was inflicted on him. He bids farewell to his captor and turns back time. We come back to the scene we left off with the Star Spirit. It is revealed that the innocent young kid we first met at the beginning of the episode was actually Kaoru, who was just awakened and is prepared to embark on a mission to destroy everything his former comrades held dear, starting with the pink-haired leader Flare. He knows that the stone only allowed him to turn back time, and the same events will occur again, so he prepares himself in advance. He starts developing resistance to the drugs he will be given in the future by eating small doses and various poisonous plants. Kaoru obtains his healing power on his birthday, and the next morning, Princess Flare arrives in the village to recruit him. It's more frightening than you'd think to see him act innocent and unaware when he meets her for the first time, and speaks to her with kindness and politeness. This time, Kaoru is making the best use of his abilities from the very start. He uses his sight ability to analyze the status of everyone's abilities, and realizes that the king is not someone he'd want to mess with. With his healing technique, he extracts experiences from various people people, including the maids. He doesn't care how far down he has to stoop, and it's almost as if his moral compass is beyond repair. The next day, he heals the swordsman's arm and passes out from witnessing her experiences and trauma. He's almost glad when Princess Flare mocks him for his incompetence, because now he knows he can leave any ounce of humanity in him to exact his revenge. Unfortunately, Kaoru must wait until he develops resistance to drugs before beginning his mega retaliation plan. It takes some time, and you have to witness him being repeatedly sedated and raped by people. Flare uses him whenever he is needed and even throws a few taunts and punches. In order to further deceive Flare, Kaoru pretends to be scared of absorbing traumatic memories and promises that he will never heal anybody again just to get her reaction. Getting imprisoned and assaulted was all part of his plan. Kaoru absorbed magical skills from his rapists as well as the wounded warriors he is forced to heal. Kaoru eventually develops the skill of alchemy and a tolerance for drugs after spending numerous nights with people having their way with him. He carries out his escape strategy using the skills he had stolen. So, utilizing his newly gained skills, he breaks free of his chains and shackles. And then he sends so many people straight to their graves. He even adopts the appearance of one of Flare's most dependable knights and takes advantage of their friendship to eliminate her guards and leave her defenseless. All of this eventually leads to a horrifying torture scene that, thanks to God, was censored. Flare is utterly silent and deafeningly loud at the same time. You can only picture what Kaoru might be doing to her at that point. Kaoru continually breaks Flare's fingers and then heals him. He goes on and on endlessly. Hearing Flare's fingers getting snapped makes you flinch every time. He doesn't just stop there. Kaoru then decides to use his abilities to change Flare's looks as well as memories. After transforming the face of a deceased bodyguard to resemble that of Flare, Kaoru frames Leonard, Flare's Imperial commander, before escaping with the real Flare. Now that Flare has lost her memory, Kaoru decides to give her the name Freya and convinces her that she is his obedient slave who is devoutly in love with him. He also changes his face, and with the new appearance, he assumes a new name, Kayarga the Healer. He considers his previous identity weak and casts it aside. No one really knows what his plans are, but for the time being, Kayarga is intent on rewriting his side of the story. It appears that right now he is traveling on a path where there is no salvation. Kayarga makes a decision to leave the city with Freya. He also learns that Norn, Flare's younger sister, who is more intelligent and sadistic than her, is coming back to the city. During their escapes, they eventually arrive at a chaotic city known as Lenarda. This place is known for criminal attacks on the poor. Kayarga needs a quick money-making strategy. He discovers with his sight ability that the city's water is polluted and makes everybody who consumes it ill. The water supply is probably being affected by the decay of a monster's corpse. Kayarga sees the situation as a good opportunity. Using his entrepreneurship skills, Kayarga makes a remedy from his blood. This works because he has already become resistant to poisons and pollutants. He then sells the remedial treatment to a merchant. He promises the trader that he will keep making more cures if he gives him half of the profits he is making. So along with being a sadist, Kayarga is also business-minded. Kayarga thinks it is a smart idea to purchase a slave using his remaining 28 bits of gold. Although Freya doesn't fully understand why Kayarga is doing what he's doing, none of his actions make sense to her and only confuses her more. As far as Kayarga is concerned, he only seeks a slave due to loyalty, and the one that he does intend on buying is just a gender-bent version of himself. He goes to a slave trader and buys a female demi-human that is partially an ice wolf. After seeing that her wrath has kept her going despite the fact that she was infected, he becomes curious to see what would happen once she exacts her vengeance on the person she despises so much. He intends to exploit her to exact his revenge after winning her allegiance, but he will first concentrate on the revenge of this demi-human. As Kayarga tends to Setsuna, he discovers her memories of how she and other members of the Ice Wolf tribe had to block Diorial soldiers from finding her village, but had been quickly defeated. Setsuna would subsequently be auctioned to a slave trader, as the dying demi-humans had informed the Diorial soldiers of their settlement. When Setsuna wakes up, she learns her condition has been cured. Despite her gratitude, Setsuna fights Kaoru, since she has to go somewhere else but is quickly overpowered. Kaoru discloses his understanding of Setsuna's past and the fact that her power has maximized and become stagnant. However, Kaoru points out that he can increase her present strength's boundaries because he is a hero. However, in exchange for his help, he wants to know her real name. For a brief period, you might think of Kaarga as a savior for not only freeing Setsuna from servitude, but also promising to let her exact revenge on the humans that led to her capture by the Georal Imperial Army. However, it is kind of funny that Kaarga could have easily made her strong by simply using his blood instead of using other methods, but it seems that he himself wants to have a harem after all. However, it's not yet apparent if Freya is aware that Kaarga is exploiting Setsuna or not. Kaarga quickly grants Setsuna's revenge rather than delaying it for too long, but Kaarga also invites Freya to participate using her advanced degrees of magic for his own amusement. What could be better than the princess killing some of her own country's soldiers? However, Kaarga doesn't just sit back and enjoy the show. He himself joins in the massacre. He plays the sword savior to help Setsuna execute the job by eliminating sufficient Georal Imperial Army soldiers who were posing as mercenaries. When Kaoru, Freya, and Setsuna reach the top of the cliff in front of the Ice Wolf settlement, they see that troops have already arrived and are mistreating their prisoners. Kaoru persuades Setsuna to hold off until he decreases the number of soldiers. He tells her that the mercenaries are using his manipulative technique intended to bring out the demi-human warriors. When the soldiers and demi-humans engage in combat, Kaoru identifies himself as the sword hero before storming in. He kills some troops by imitating Correa Claret's swordplay while using his heal power. Freya casts her Falling Star ability, which eliminates the mob, to prevent a larger troop of soldiers from attacking Kaoru. Kaoru orders Setsuna to join the rest of the tribe in slaughtering the survivors now that the enemy numbers have decreased, thus earning her high accolades and becoming Kaarga's unwavering loyal servant. After the battle, Kaara and Setsuna learned that a monster carcass that was placed by demi-humans into Lanarita's water was the source of the poisoned water. Kaoru offers to make the poison more lethal or to make the river into a remedial drug. To avoid harming people who are not involved, Setsuna opts for the latter. However, given what transpired with the Ice Wolf clan, Setsuna's retaliation, and Freya's lack of familial support, Kaarga feels that in order to bring about genuine change, the kingdom must be destroyed. The issue with that plan is that King Georal and Leonard are both aware of the plan Kaarga had executed before departing, and Leonard is now tasked with bringing King Georal's daughter, Princess Flare, back. This might be a problem, mostly because of Freya's sister and other heroes. You will find out in the next couple of episodes.